It is. I'll be on it.
Right, that you?
I don't know, we'll see. Yes, that's it all, yeah.
Good morning. I was waiting for what I call the church silence. Everyone's talking and then they know something's going to start. Volume goes down. So good morning and welcome. My name is Jane Dolan and I'm the president of this amazing Central Valley Flood Protection Board and an amazing staff. So welcome to board members, board staff, in-person attendees, and welcome to those online. Mr. D'Agostine, everyone's been admitted. Do we have our board member on? Thank you. So thank you for that. Please know our meetings are recorded. Won't there be that eerie voice that says that soon? Not me. I don't give eerie voices. Is it being recorded? Yes, it is. Okay, I want you to know that. So I will now call to order this meeting of the Central Valley Flood Protection Board of Friday, June 28th, 2024. And now I will ask Mr. Knapp, our board clerk, to call the roll to determine our attendance and quorum. Knapp.
Member Andrews,
Here.
Member Bosler, she has a hand raised. We unmute.
Member Bosler, are you with us? She might not have good internet, but we definitely see her on the online list. We'll count her.
Now I'm here. Now I see myself in the big screen there. So I'm
there you
here.
are.
Hi. Hi from
Good morning.
Minnesota. Nice to see you all.
You're also in our room on the wall. Okay. Next.
Member Griego,
Here.
Member Countryman, Secretary Johnson,
I'm here. Good morning, everyone.
Vice President Belines,
Here.
President Dolan.
I'm here. This confirms we have a quorum. We have 6 members who are present in the room, and I can see member Bosler right straight on the big screen and through below. And I want to note and highlight that we now have a full board. Up to this point, I would be saying we have so-and-so here, someone who's absent, and 1 vacancy. We have a full complement of the 7 members, and we welcome our gubernatorial appointee, Betty Andrews, as our newest board member. And if you will, Ms. Andrews joined our board for her first meeting at the workshop that was held on June 14th. Her oath of office was administered in the Target parking lot of Sacramento as we all stood around trying to figure out which van we were going to get on and what the logistics of the day, and did we bring enough water. So here's the official ceremony. And we did not have some board members there, and we didn't have most of our folks that come to meetings, so I wanted to do that. Ms. Andrews has been a consulting engineer and strategic advisor since 2021. Examples of her multiple roles and experience include Vice President and Principal Engineer and Project Director at Environmental Sciences Associates, which we usually call ESA, from 2010 to 2021. Multiple roles at Phillips Williams and Associates, LTD, including Principal, Project Manager, Staff Engineer, and Chair of the Board of Directors. Prior to that, she was also a graduate student intern at the California Department of Water Resources. She serves as Conservation Director of Friends of the River. Her memberships include the American Society of Civil Engineers, the Salmon and Restoration Federation, and the Floodplain Management Association. Ms. Andrews earned a Master's of Science degree in Civil Engineering from the University of California, Davis. Got this backwards, and a Bachelor of Science degree in Technology and Human Affairs from Washington University, St. Louis. Was a Bachelor Davis and the Master St. Louis. Okay, I just gave them out of order with that. We view you as a great addition to the board, so welcome.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be sitting here with you all today, and be part of this important institution in California. Thank you for the welcome.
Let me put that on the website. That could be the first time there with oath of office in that format. That was great. Okay, now we'll go on to business. The first part of our agenda is announcements and introductions. So we made that introduction. There might be some more. I understand our executive officer has had some information to provide.
I do, thank you. We have one introduction today, one additional introduction today. We welcome Abigail or Abby Montine, who joined the board on June 4th as a youth aide working in the board's operation branch. Abby is assisting with digitizing our permitting records, adding valuable information and improving work efficiency for technical staff. Abby is studying business administration at Sacramento State, and she is joining us virtually this morning. Welcome to the board, Abby.
Welcome, Ms. Montine. I understand you're online, so perhaps you noted that we have a board member who started out as a student assistant. But your work is so important. What she's helping with is digitizing paper permits so that they're safe and accessible. That's great work.
Okay.
Do you have more?
I do. Next, I'd like to acknowledge the successful Proposition 218 vote approving the Mossdale Tract Area Flood Protection Assessment. On June 21st, property owners supported the assessment with 75% of the weighted vote. The assessment will leverage $373 million in federal and state funding for enhanced flood protection for Southeast Manteca, Lathrop, and the Weston Ranch area of Stockton. On July 18th, the San Joaquin Area Flood Control Agency Board will consider approval and implementation of the assessment. The assessment will last approximately 31 years and raise about $130 million in local funding to improve 15 miles of levee along the San Joaquin River, extend and enhance a dry levee south of Manteca, fund ancillary levee improvements. These improvements will provide flood protection for more than 55,000 residents and 22,000 existing properties, including 18,000 homes, as well as schools, highways, railroad lines, businesses, the San Joaquin County Hospital, Manteca's wastewater treatment plant, and other critical public infrastructure. Congratulations to Sejavka and their consultant team for the successful election.
These kinds of elections are very important, very necessary, very challenging. So that was an amazing effort by Kim Floyd, who we know very well, Sejavka, and the community to see that vote could be successful. It's a tough one for the voters to approve. So congratulations to them as well. With important improvements to an area at risk.
I have one more. Lastly, I'll note we have a new listserv set up that people can sign up for to get email notifications when meeting notices are published. There's a link on the electronic version of today's agenda on the first page, as well as on our website. And thanks to Jonah for spearheading that effort.
Thank you, Mr. Knapp, for doing that. Yeah, I tried that. So we get more folks who can either attend or watch. I'm just sorry it comes as a CNRA notice and not a CVFPB, but we'll work on that. So you can be on the list. Get more than you think you will. I'm going to provide now just a brief overview of the agenda to be sure things are in order. But please know that subsequent to that, we go to each agenda item and announce it and presentations. First up, we have approval of minutes. board secretary and I talked, then we're gonna be approving one set and we're gonna, continue a second. We'll get to that. Item 5 is consent items, and today there are 7, which is quite a number. They're all, permits. Item 6 is identified as public comments. I think some folks know what that is. Public comments is a spot on all public agendas for people to give comments or remarks on things that are within the jurisdiction of the board, but are not on the agenda. Your public comments for agenda items are what an agenda item is. Item 7, we will receive a submittal of a legislative update from our executive officer who may or may not want to give some highlights. Item 8 is information, presentation of an inspection of a levee system in Sutter County. Item 9 is identified as board items. It was scheduled to be 2 matters, but it is now 1. Item 9B has been removed for today. It lists on the agenda, but it's not going to be acted upon. This is a matter that was to be authorizing and confirming a cease and desist order, but it does not require the board's action because our very dedicated, competent staff worked out compliance. So congratulations to the staff and to the landowner for achieving compliance. Item 9A is a request for adoption of necessary work. I think that'll take some time. Same. Item 10 is 2 matters presented to us by DWR. One is a submittal of written activities for their month, and item 10B is an action item regarding Delta Levy maintenance subvention program. I think that should be subvention. Item 11 lists monthly activity reports that are submitted to us in writing by the divisions and branches of our organization. And it's also an opportunity for board or others to ask questions or highlight parts there. Item 12 is for board members to provide comments on activities and meetings and things that we do. Item 13 is a list of upcoming dates. Item 14, we'd hope to be a closed session, but it's not going to happen today, but next meeting board. Okay. It's always a challenge to predict the flow of a meeting and how long it will take, but I want you all to know when I think it's appropriate, there'll be a break, usually at the 1.5 hour or 2 hour mark, but I don't think that we're going to be here long enough to take a lunch break. Any questions? No questions. Okay, let's get to work. We've handled the roll call, the welcome, the review of the agenda, so we're at minutes. Board Secretary Johnson.
Thank you, President Dolan. As President Dolan mentioned, we are going to hold over the May minutes. So while the agenda shows 2, I am moving now to approve the April 26th board meeting minutes.
Okay, is there a second to,
I'll make the second.
second by member Griego, motion by member Johnson, second by Griego. So the action here is for April 26, 2024. You'll show that there's another set, that there's some adjustments to be made, so that'll be the next meeting. Anyone want to talk about the minutes? See the board, no hands up. Hands up. Please call the roll.
Member Andrews,
Abstain.
member Bosler,
Aye.
member Griego,
Yes.
member Countryman,
Yes.
Secretary Johnson,
Aye.
Vice President Valines,
Aye.
President Dolan.
Aye. Yes. The motion passes, 6 votes in favor and 1 abstention, which seems appropriate. Probably watching. Thank you all for that. The consent items. There are 7. And I'm going to just read them, and then I'm going to ask our chief engineer if he has any comments. Consent items are considered not necessarily routine, but thoroughly reviewed and approved by our staff and are deemed not controversial. Item 5A is permit number 194455. It's a proposal for salmon habitat restoration efforts on the lower Sacramento River, City of Sacramento is the sponsor. The Water Forum is the entity overseeing an action. 5B is permit number 19526. It is a check dams Paradise Cut San Joaquin County project by Reclamation District 2062. Item 5C is permit number 19639. I am not going to say their names appropriately. Sukai Samra and Nitu Kamboj. I'm sorry, Mr. Chu, I should have asked your help. Approval of a single-family residence, West Sacramento. Permit number 5D is permit number 19670. Nayit Kaur. I'm messing that up and I apologize. That is also a single-family residence in West Sacramento. Permit number 19792, Swanston Ranch Incorporated is a pump station revamp and issues there at the Yolo bypass in Yolo County. Permit number 19860 is a bridge replacement in the county of Tulare, Sand Creek. Permit number 19870 is action of for the Roseville Water Distribution System improvements for Douglas Boulevard, Dry Creek Bridge, crossing Dry Creek, Placer County. Is that the 7? That's the 7 items. Mr. Wright, are they all in order?
Thank you, President Dolan. Michael Wright, Chief Engineer for the board. All the consent items are in order. Staff is requesting conditional approval for 2 of those. That would be 5B 19526 and 5E 19792. We have yet to receive the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Section 408 letter of permission. But we do expect that within a week or so. And those would not be issued until we receive the Corps' letter of permission.
And the action on those does indicate conditional approval for that. Okay. We don't bring them forward unless we have that word from the Army Corps it's coming. They're just a little slow with their written reports. So everybody's busy. Okay, board members, anyone want to remove one for comment, discussion? Any hands up in the audience? Want to talk about one of these? Any hands up? Okay. So what would be appropriate at this point is a motion made to approve the consent items as staff recommends.
I'll make the motion, President Dolan.
Motion
for
by
the
member Griego,
26.
second by member Countryman. Did I interrupt you, member?
I was just saying which minutes it was on April 26, 2000. Huh?
No, we're
Oh,
on the
I'm sorry.
consent.
I'm sorry, we're on the consent.
Your motion is to approve the consent
Thank you.
that staff recommends. I'm usually the one that does that. Thank you for that. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor, so we're ready for a vote. Please call the roll.
Member Andrews,
Aye.
member Bosler,
Aye.
member Griego,
Yes.
member Countryman,
Yes.
Secretary Johnson,
Aye.
Vice President Valines,
Aye.
President Dolan.
Yes. All right, the items on the consent agenda have been approved, and that is a unanimous vote. Awesome, great. Okay, we're going to move to item number 6. This is public comment. So I have some cards here, and I'm going to call them in the order that were handed to me by the board clerk. For these folks, when they're called upon to come to the microphone and give us your public comment. First up would be Mick Martin. And after that would be Sarah Martin. So maybe Sarah Martin can come to the front row. Just saying. Good morning, Mr. Martin.
Good morning. Morning. I'm here to discuss the continued efforts to provide flood protection. My neighborhood of Northern Woodland that currently exists in a zone of significant flood is an amazing. First homes were built in the late 1800s. Most of the rest of the area being built between the 1900s and 1960s.
Mr. Martin?
Yeah.
Can you move the mic up closer to your, yeah, well, be sure we hear you. Is it on?
This area contains hundreds of houses, and a large number of businesses of various sizes. Some homeowners and business owners have maintained these properties for generations. While there is a socioeconomically diverse range of ownership. Let's try this again. Is that better? Yep. All right. While there is a socioeconomically diverse range of ownership, a majority of the residents are classified as low income. This area contains some of our most vulnerable community members. We have many elderly residents on fixed incomes, and between 60 and 70% of residents with children are eligible for free and reduced school lunch program. A large elementary school is also in this plain area. When I purchased my home in 2005, I knew I was purchasing in a floodplain. Roughly 5,000 homes were mapped in the floodplain at that time. Our real estate agent helped us find information about the ongoing FEMA mapping, remapping, and the projected repairs to the Cache Creek Basin. We also looked into the flood risk for our specific property and cost projections for flood insurance, which is required for our mortgage. We were told that our neighborhood would be included in the remapping and lifted out of the floodplain on the new maps. This was all part of our calculus for purchasing where and when we did. 4,500 homes were removed from the 100-year map. Approximately 500 homes plus apartment complexes and businesses remained in the floodplain. During the first winter we were in our home, Cache Creek threatened to overflow its banks. Police drove through the north of town with bullhorns, telling people to prepare for flood and to get sandbags from the fire department. The threat of flooding was real then, and it has only gotten worse for the entire area in the years since. To help with the ever-rising cost of insurance, we installed subfloor vents in the perimeter foundation of our home, changed some of the hardscaping on our property, and had an engineer survey our lot and provide an elevation certificate. All of these came at a significant expense. Most of my neighbors do not have these options. Either they have a home that is constructed lower in the floodplain or can't afford modifications or elevation certificates. Costs for insurance have continued to rise and are currently increasing by 17% per year. Our rates went from $350 per year to over $1,700 per year right after Hurricane Katrina. By completing the various modifications and the elevation certificate, we got our rates back down just under $400 per year. In the time since then, our rates have gone back up to just over $700 and will continue to rise by 17% every year, assuming we can continue to find a carrier willing to take on the risk. A neighbor a couple of doors down from us had insurance rates go from a few $100s per year to $3,000 per year for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom home. She's elderly and on a fixed income. Another neighbor with a larger home is now paying $9,900 per year. Even for those who can afford it now, this is unsustainable. For those who own their homes outright, this expense can be a barrier, preventing them from carrying flood insurance.
Mr. Martin?
Yes,
I neglected to say we try to keep these to 3 minutes. Do you have? much
I've got
more?
45 seconds left.
Okay.
does that
And
work?
if you want to leave that with us, that would be great.
Okay, can I do 45 seconds or am I done?
You can go for it.
Okay, thank you.
I just took that, so go for it.
All right, let's see. This places them at substantial risk in the case of even a minor flooding event. It also makes these properties harder to sell. We live in an amazing neighborhood with fantastic history and a strong community. The risk of flood and the regulations that places on homes and businesses is preventing improvements, upgrades, and development of existing businesses and properties in the area. This has resulted in the shattering of businesses and the beginnings of blight in the neighborhood. The beauty and potential of our homes and businesses is being stifled by the specter of flooding. We need a solution that protects our community and our most vulnerable. Please don't stop working toward a solution. Thank you.
Received. Thank you for that. Sarah Martin. So you know I have 4 more after Ms. Martin. The next one up. Did you do 2?
I have one. I am representing somebody else as well. So
Okay,
I'm
so
speaking.
Sarah Martin.
Yep, but I am representing somebody else on the second one, if that is all right.
Okay.
This one represents me.
Right.
Good morning and thank you for your time. My name is Sarah Martin, and I am here to request that the CVFPB continue to advocate and pursue ways to provide flood protection to Woodland, the town that I love. I would also like to explain to this board why the Measure M vote back in March should in no way be considered a mandate. The citizens of Woodland unknowingly voted against their best interests due to an active and well-funded disinformation campaign, as well as a distinct failure by the city to explain the need for an adequate flood protection for this town. Woodland is in danger, and most of its residents still do not know or believe that. Living just within the boundary of the existing FEMA flood hazard area for the past 19 years, I am personally aware of the rising cost of flood insurance and the risks Cache Creek poses each winter. I am an informed citizen, Yet the first time I heard of Measure M was when the No on M campaign signs went up all over town. The city did not host town halls to explain Woodland's flood risk. There were no forums on the Lower Cache Creek feasibility study, no education on social media or in the local paper, and no letters explaining what the USACE had been working on or why. There was absolutely zero outreach in Spanish. A qualified city communications officer, Kim Floyd, was only desperately brought on the day the ballots were mailed out. But by then the damage had been done. With no resource from the city for reliable factual information about this project, voters had to rely on what was available: giant flyers with false stories of unchecked urban sprawl, farmers losing their livelihoods, and sneaky government officials who were only lining their pockets. The claims were really, really scary, and there was no information outreach plan to stop the lies from sparking fear in the minds of voters. And I understand that a city cannot campaign on a measure, but they should have informed voters on the facts. Voters erroneously believed a no vote would mean there was no cost. They were not made aware of our entire sewer system. They were not made aware that our entire sewer system will shut down in a flood. So there will need to be a multi-million-dollar project to protect the facility at taxpayer expense. Voters thought that keeping the status quo would mean that the town we lived in would not evolve. They did not know that the vacant lots, empty buildings, and lack of redevelopment are due to flood constraints and building codes. They were not educated about the urban limit line that limits our growth in all directions and worried desperately about the claims of unchecked sprawl. Voters mistakenly relied on historical data as though it were an accurate predictor of Woodland's current flood risk. The city did not communicate the effects of climate change or on catastrophic flooding, and after years of drought, people couldn't fathom that the little creek to the north that goes dry during the summer has an over 1 in 4 chance of causing billions in damages over any given 30-year period. Voters voted out of fear rather than facts. Fear of sprawl, fear of costs, fear of officials' motives. Flood risk mitigation for hundreds of families, small businesses, and critical infrastructure was practically an afterthought, thanks to the lack of solid information from our government officials. Flood protection is a matter of public safety and welfare, but thousands of Woodland residents remain at risk. And when 25% of our town is projected to flood, all residents are at risk. Please don't forget about us. Please do whatever you are able to help us keep our options open for the future. Thank you for your time.
Received, and thank you. If you want to leave your written remarks with us, that would be fine.
I'm
And I
happy to.
understand I'm calling on you now for, I got it, I read what you put there.
Yes.
Sandy Mark Simpson.
Yes, so these are comments written by Sandy Mark Simpson. She sent them to
3
me last night. This one is brief.
Okay.
She says, as a resident of Woodland, I'm incredibly concerned about flooding. Many areas are especially vulnerable, including the area where I live. I had hoped that Measure M would move us forward in the process of protecting our city, but sadly, the measure did not pass. I don't believe that the no vote adequately represents the citizens of Woodland. It definitely doesn't reflect what is in our city's best interests for the future. I believe that if Woodlanders had been presented with more factual information about the plan and grave threat of flooding and less misinformation and outright lies, voters would have made a different decision. I'm writing to ask that the CVFPB continue to work on a plan to help protect Woodland so we don't have to start the process all over again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Received. Next up is Mr. Spalding, Kate Spalding. After that is Brenda Guston. Someone move their head so I can see the next person. Good morning again.
Good morning. Good morning, President Dolan, board members, and new member Andrews. Thanks again for the time to let me comment about erosion control projects or contracts 3B and 4B. We appreciate your time at every meeting, and we look forward to the day when we actually are an agenda item. I know that Brenda Gustin, Betsy Wieland, and Nancy Nisker and I have mentioned several times about the need for a workshop and a hearing before the formal hearing where you vote on the American River Common Features project. And you've assured us that will happen. When you do schedule that workshop, I urge you to invite those with concerns about the contracts and the modeling to attend. Please invite Liz Bellis and Casey Sorgan from Sacramento Regional Parks, Lila Picola and Ellen McBride from National Fisheries and Marine Services, Professors Kevin Flora, Christian Santoni, and Ali Kronjonadad from Stony Brook University, who developed the 3D dynamic models for the American River, Dr. Todd Bridges, the father of engineering with nature, Bill Avery, PhD emeritus from Sac State, Dr. Michelle Stevens from Sac State and a lead researcher on the Bushy Lake project and an expert on western pond turtle, Josh Thomas, PhD candidate in history from UC Davis, whose dissertation is on the history of flood control in the Central Valley, Gerald Juice and Bill Bratton, licensed retired local civil engineers. You should have over 900 comments letters that were submitted to the Corps and Department of Water Resources, so those should help to identify the appropriate participants. Please invite them to describe their concerns before you take any formal action. Have a dialogue, not another lecture from the Corps and their consultants. Ask probing questions and demand detailed answers. As I have said from the first time I came to offer you comments way back in February, we're not against erosion control and flood protection, and we as AmericanRiverTrees.org. However, this is not an emergency situation, and as a project demands excellent quality and state-of-the-art engineering to not only protect the river from erosion, but also protecting the riparian habitat that people and wildlife require to thrive. By working together, we can have a win-win-win outcome for erosion. We can have a win-win-win outcome for erosion control and flood protection while protecting the unique features of the Lower American Wild and Scenic River and its adjacent parkway. Thank you.
Received, and thank you.
Okay.
Brenda Gustin? Mr. Spalding, you might want to leave that with us so that we have all those names you read. Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Sacramento's Wild and Scenic American River and Contracts 3B and 4B. With climate changes occurring worldwide, the future cannot be determined using older systems of calculation based on history. You know this. It makes sense that your agency staff and the Army Corps would take immediate measures to utilize state-of-the-art technology, such as the 3D modeling that Pete spoke about, and an intricate use of engineering with nature to ensure that the natural habitat and the people of Sacramento are protected from future erosion. Much like surgeons often specialize, the Army Corps has specialists, such as Lieutenant General Scott Spellman, who has committed himself in Congress to endeavor to engineer more with nature in everything that they do across our great country, and further states that we must do more of this in our projects and in our programs. I appreciate that the Bank Protection Working Group met to discuss this contract. However, that meeting took place 2 months ago, and still answers to questions posed in January remain unanswered. As the non-federal local agency for this project, I wonder if this board, your staff, and those who work with the Department of Water Resources, Lower American River Task Force, Bank Protection Working Group, and others are willing to meet more, are willing to meet more often in open forums so dialogue with citizens may occur. 6 months seems like a long time to have citizens waiting for answers to their over 900 comments and many reports. I realize there are processes our agencies must follow. Well-defined data representing citizens' knowledge of the habitat that could potentially be destroyed by this project and take decades to restore has been submitted. Improvements must occur, we know that, and we know it's also possible to improve flow and reduce erosion in a less harmful way. We want specialists to perform this work in our wild and scenic river, and we want to be included as partners. Today, we learned from Colonel James Honduras that these questions will be answered upon approval of the final SEIS. That seems a little late to have questions answered. I'm wondering, and we're wondering, will an on-site meeting ever occur with citizens present? We know that the professionals are meeting on site and preparing to do this work. Can we be invited? Can the predicted timelines for your review of the environmental documents and the CVFPB workshop and public hearing be at least given us a timeline on that, a timeline on whether we can present at the workshop? We'd really like to understand and collaborate with our agencies as promised in the goals of the Corps. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. I have no other cards. Is there anyone else present who wishes to provide public comment? Something within our jurisdiction, not on the agenda? I see no hands up, or standing up in the room. Do we have any hands up online? Could I just ask, I'm sure that Member Bosler doesn't mind having her face there 100% of the time. But if I were her, I would. Is there a way to switch and have the person at the podium or the person talking? Or the wall? Okay. You can now go get some coffee, Member Bosler. Okay, item 7 is legislative update. We've received a written report. Nicely done, in my opinion, Mr. Leaf. I appreciate that every time. But I understand you want to say a few comments about it.
Yeah, thank you, President Dolan. Just one quick update. Since that report was provided to you, the House version of the Water Resources Development Act, or WRDA 2024, was released earlier this week and went through markup session. Now both the Senate and House versions are going through the formal legislative process.
Is there anything in it for us? For California?
I'm sure there's stuff in it for California. I couldn't tell you.
Not a short report, I'm sure. Oh, you don't have an opinion on the state budget? Huh?
We have a state budget now for the next fiscal year, and it's a tight budget, as have been in the headlines.
We've been following that. Yes, it is.
And we do have money in the bond if the final one comes out Sunday.
What did you say? Bring your microphone on. Number lines.
Thank you. I assume we're going to see a final version of a potential climate resiliency bond on Sunday, probably in print, and they'll vote on Wednesday before they leave. They could extend it again, but in one of the two versions that they're going to merge, we do have money in there, right? DWR and our
flood programs.
Flood programs.
Right. So
We're fighting for that language that has.
Yeah.
Central Valley Flood Protection Board.
Right,
As well.
right. So that's good news.
We're very important partner in all of those actions. Okay, thank you for that. Lots of news, information, presentations on what's going to happen. We'll actually see. Okay, board members have any questions on the legislative report we received from Mr. Lee? See that here? Nope. Anyone in the audience want to hear more on that? Well, if you can, take some time to read it. It's good. Good stuff. Good information. Even if some of it we don't like. Okay, ready to proceed? Item 8 is an item United States Army Corps of Engineers, and I'm going to ask the newly designated manager of Approachment and Compliance Section, Zubair Dosu.
Thank
Morning.
you.
Did I get your title right?
Yes, you did. I'll repeat it to you. Good morning, President Dolan, Vice President Valliance, members of the board, and congratulations to your recent appointment, Member Andrews. My name is Zubair Dosu. I am the manager of the Deferred Encroachment Compliance section for the board. Today, I'm here to introduce Juan Gonzalez, the Corps Chief of Inspection Section, who will give a presentation on the inspection results for Wadsworth Canal, Right Bank, Sutter Bypass, East Levee System. After his presentation, I will give board staff's analysis and assist in answering any questions you may have. Also in attendance online, we have representatives from DWR SAC Maintenance Yard, as well as Mark Liss from DWR's Flood Maintenance Office, who also can provide comments. So without further ado, please welcome Juan.
Thank you, Zubair.
Mr. Gonzalez, see you again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, President Dolan, members of the board. Appreciate the opportunity to be in front of you guys and present on inspection results. As Zubair mentioned, I'm here to present on the Wadsworth Canal Right Bank Sutter Bypass East Levee System. The system is located in Sutter County, and it is protecting the town of Sutter. The levee system that we inspected is about just under 11 miles long. It does contain 3 individual levee segments along Wadsworth Canal, Sutter Bypass, as well as up near the north end, we've got an interceptor canal along the Sutter Buttes. One thing to point out here, the orange little circle there, we do have a federal pump station there, which was also inspected. And that's part of the federal project.
I really appreciate the clarity of this map.
There's two slides here for report cards. This is the first slide. This is focused on the levee embankments. And so we have unacceptable observations for various items, including encroachments, erosion bank caving, animal control, as well as cracking. We're going to go through some of these examples of representative observations in the pictures. The system does have an LOI, so it is an active system currently. Ew. Second slide showing report card. This is specific to the pump station. And so these are the ratings that items and the ratings that were observed on the pump station. As mentioned before, the pump station is on the Sutter Bypass, which is why it's showing on that column. There are 4 pictures here. The first picture is showing the water side of some concrete box culverts. There's actually 2 box culverts there. They are 4 foot by 6 foot in dimension. They have these rectangular flap gates that are open. There's a lot of vegetation around them. They don't appear to have been operated in some time. They are directly across from picture 2. And so you can see in picture 2, there's kind of the bottom right. I added that picture just to kind of give some perspective. There's that concrete structure. There's some slide gates at that concrete structure on picture 2. And these pipes go through the levee. What picture 2 is showing is an old site for pump station, pumping plant number 3, which is the old site of the federal pump station. It's been since relocated downstream. It was relocated under a permit. And then I think in 2022, the Corps issued a letter of permission for this site to get cleaned up. There's an effort underway, maybe it's already been started, to backfill, take out some piles, extend the pipes that we see in picture 1 and I think do some rehab work on those pipes, as well as connecting those pipes, I think electronically to the new federal pump station. One thing I just want to point out here is that in both picture 1 and 2, so those items are, again, issued letter of permissions. Those letter of permissions have a condition such that the O&M manual needs to be updated. We haven't seen an update yet, or updated language, and so that's part of our communication effort here is that, hey, as we move forward with some of this, we're hoping to see some of that updated language from the state. And then picture 3, this is surface erosion. I believe this is under, if I remember correctly, Franklin Bridge. There's some erosion that's occurring here. It's hard to see. I apologize because of the shadow. It's essentially water coming off the crown. I think it's coming off the bridge, coming on off to the crown, and then it's concentrated flow. At this particular location, it's about 2 feet into the embankment, and so we're losing quite a bit of embankment. Again, just to represent an example, there's some other areas on other segments that show similar erosion. Likewise with picture 4, showing cracking. In this particular instance, it's 2 feet deep cracking. Again, there's other cracking in other areas of the system. This is just representative. That is all the pictures I have. Happy to take questions.
Thank you for that. Board Member Countryman.
In that spreadsheet you're showing, I noticed that encroachments were unacceptable. Do you have any photos of the encroachments?
Yes, so pictures 1 and 2 are falling under that category of encroachments, and so pipes are falling under the encroachment category, as well as this. It's an excavation in picture 2, really, because it's hard to tell, but it's essentially vegetation growing on the surface of a water, and so that's a big pit filled with water.
But that's not an encroachment, right?
It's we don't have a category to put encroachments, or excuse me, excavations, and so
see,
a
okay.
deliberate excavation, we're including
I was
it in.
thinking there would be
Yeah.
some, yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any questions from other board member Johnson?
I do, thank you. And I would invite you or Sabara or others, online as you see fit to answer this. But I have the same question that I often have when I see these presentations, which just goes to how concerned we should be, and I'm wondering, we always see things that have unacceptable ratings likely to affect performance. How bad is performance likely to be affected? What happens? What damages we're likely to see, just to be able to gauge where, relative to some other things we have going on, what's the level of concern here?
So I'll give my perspective, and then I'm gonna just go back to the slide for the report card on the levee embankments. There we go. What we're showing here is items with a U representing unacceptable. Those are what we consider to be the most serious items that we consider will likely have a negative impact on performance during the next flood event. Those are the things that are like those 4x6 culverts that have open flap gates that are going to allow water to pass to the land side. That big excavation in picture number 2, we think that's a serious concern. Potential for seepage, potential for slope instability. Essentially, we've got saturated soils up against the levee that saturated year round. So we are concerned with that stuff. We have individual observations within the inspection report that are noted as unacceptable that show negative impact on performance. Those are the ones that we're considering as the most serious, and we're hoping that the board can use as a, hey, let's tackle the worst first and look at these guys. Look at these individual observations.
I mean, if you got flap gates that are open, gonna allow water to go through, I mean, that's unacceptable.
It is unacceptable. When we marked it unacceptable, again, there's slide gates on the landside hinge. We don't know if they're open. We didn't get any information on that.
So the maintaining entity is, the, DWR's, Sutter Maintenance Yard. So I understand they're online. I don't see them in the room. So which one do we call on first, Mr. Duver?
Well, there's still the remainder of the presentation. If you would like to hear board staff's analysis, maybe it'll help to address some of the comments, and then we can have Sac Maintenance or Sutter, sorry, excuse me, Sutter Maintenance Yard weigh in.
Thank you for reminding me of that. Yes, of
Okay.
course, we want to hear from our staff. So
Yeah.
please.
And so just to go back a bit, the levee system is rated. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the map which you spoke so highly of, President Dolan, this is a good picture to show what is going on. As you can see, this levee system with the levee segment that's in the top north, the pinkish color, that's the West Interceptor Canal. So how this levee system is working, it's intercepting tailwater runoff from the Sutter Buttes, and it's diverting and conveying it away from the community of Sutter into the Wadsworth Canal and there into the Sutter bypass. So the pump station that Juan showed you earlier in his presentation is located in that bottom corner. If that leveed area was inundated, it could, we're talking about water depths in the southern portion, 15 plus feet, all the way to the northern portion where it's at its lowest, 2 feet. But it's, remember in the southern portion, there's not many houses, it's just agriculture land, ag land. In the northern, you have the community of Sutter. So this levee system was built in the early 1900s by local interests and then improved by the Corps in 1941. And so it hasn't overtopped, the floodwaters haven't overtopped the levees since 1983. So
It's quite a testament.
yes, yes. So it's been doing its job since, and there's been. I was not alive in 1983, so couldn't give that testimony.
Well, it likely didn't flood in 1986 because community of Olivehurst took all that water.
Mm-hmm. So the two images that Juan showed you earlier, keep in mind this is a snapshot in time. These are that sump area where in picture number 2 with the grass covering the water there is being backfilled. They do have approvals from the board. They have a letter of permission from the Corps to do this work. The open flap gates are really a non-issue too, because that's part of the work efforts to restore the levee to its O&M standards. So these are, keep in mind, these are snapshots in time. So looking at the inspection, this is showing you in a comparison from the 2012 inspection compared to the 2022 recent core inspection. As you can see, the levee segments, each of them improved in areas of operations and maintenance, as well as flood preparedness and training, vegetation growth, sod cover, and lastly, riprap revetment and bank protection. You can see that by the amount of improvements shown in green, this appears to be a well-maintained levee system. There are some areas that it was unacceptable for items affecting PL 8499 eligibility. And that category was for encroachments for all levee segments. There was the Wadsworth Canal Unit 2 right bank levee segment that did receive unacceptable ratings for items affecting eligibility and slope stability and animal, sorry, excuse me, I think that's erosion, bank caving and animal control. Here you're looking at a representative example of some of the items affecting PL 8499 eligibility. These items would also have likelihood of preventing performance in the next flood event. So in the top left-hand corner, you can see 7 out of the 10 unacceptable items were relating to encroachment. The one you're looking at in particular is a 16-inch pump, irrigation pump, and this is privately owned. However, there is no pump installed on the water side and no positive closure device, so it received unacceptable ratings. There also was no video inspection done on this facility. Number 2 is just number 2 is an image of the erosion reels that you've seen in Juan's presentation. This image is just further out. And so this is reflective of the 2 out of 10 unacceptable items affecting eligibility for, and that fall under the category of erosion and bank caving. And this would be located at the Franklin Bridge. Lastly, we have number 3, which shows animal control, which was 1 out of the 10 unacceptable items affecting eligibility. This particular burrow was about 8 inches wide, about 7 feet deep, over 2, yeah, I know, it's over 2 cubic yards of levee material removed. But maybe we have representatives from Sutter Maintenance Yard who can speak to the current condition of this as well. Is there anyone online from Sutter Maintenance Yard or FMO? Mark List, perhaps? Okay. Yes, yes, yes. That pretty much concludes my presentation, unless there's any questions.
I just have a comment. Your pictures are better than the core pictures.
Well, my pictures came from the course, so.
Would you like DWR to comment?
Yes, sir. We're ready for you, Mr. List.
Good morning, President Dolan, Vice President Vines, members of the board. Great to be back with you all. So this morning, just commenting on the Corps' inspection out brief here for the Wadsworth and Sutter Bypass East Levee system that's up in the north section there. And by the way, Sutter Maintenance Yard sits within this triangle. So it is very close to our facility and we operate, maintain it like everything else we do on a regular basis. So a couple of issues that came up during the discussion. First one is, as Mr. Zosu has pointed out, the encroachments make up a vast majority of the unacceptable items that were listed, and we'll continue to work with board staff to try and get those addressed. Encroachment enforcement obviously is not something a maintainer can address. The item number 2 here, the erosion bank caving, agree there's an erosion reel. That erosion reel is directly related to the Franklin Road Bridge and runoff from that bridge, that encroachment. So from our basic perspective, that is an encroachment related issue. We'll work with board staff to try and get it addressed by the encroachment holder. If not, we can address it with a rock drain or something similar so that it takes care of that ongoing problem. We have an active rodent abatement and damage repair program in this area. Keep in mind when, as was mentioned, the photos are a snapshot in time. I've got a photo or images that we just saw this presentation yesterday, so we didn't have an opportunity to provide your staff with any photos that identify how it's fixed. But the Sutter Bypass pumping plant number 3, as Mr. Dosu mentioned, we have an active construction project that is out currently over the next year and a half or so beyond now, and has already been taking care of many other problems out here. One of those includes the refilling of that old sump location that used to be a pump, the old Sutter Bypass Pumping Plant number 3. It is still a gravity drain as part of the system and used as a gravity drain. The flap gates are open because others with water rights take water, and the Sutter bypass feeds backward into the water system. The department doesn't hold water rights. We simply operate and maintain the facility. During flood season, it is closed. We've rebuilt that flap gate. That flap gate was in bad condition, and that's been reinstalled. And we have other ongoing work at that particular location. So both, no, none of the images on this one, but Mr. Gonzalez's previous presentation images that showed 1 and 2 are effectively being addressed by this ongoing project we have, along with many other issues. With that, if you have any specific questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, thank you for the presentation, and we're available if you need us. Over.
Thank you, Mr. List. We miss seeing you in person. Do you have someone else from maintenance yard or DWR that's going to be providing information?
Not today. No, there was no other request. I mean, I'm here to answer questions if anything, and board members or anyone else has a specific question. However, this system is operated and maintained well. There are some features that still need to be addressed. Many of them are encroachments. And timing of inspections, which we do very much appreciate the Corps' inspection process, because it does give us another set of eyes to get out in the field. We utilize the data, and we basically program work that we generally already have in plan, but we take a look at it again and make sure that the work moving forward is addressing issues that are noted.
Thank you for your information. Board members have questions of anybody at this point. Member Countryman.
One thing that comes to mind, so work's being done to correct these things. How does it, when you have unacceptable, and so you wouldn't be eligible for PL 8499, how does this construct the observation and then the construction to fix it time lapse? How do you get rid of that unacceptable?
So I'll provide my response, and then Juan could add
Excuse
too
me?
as well. I'll provide the board's response, and then Juan could add too if necessary. So this levy system actually has a draft SWIFT, so a system-wide improvement framework plan to address unacceptable items over the long term and the short term. So they are active in the PL 8499 eligibility program. If they did not have that, those unacceptable ratings would work against them. They would not be eligible for federal assistance for storm damage. So these are items, and as I mentioned before, there is actually approval from the board and a letter of permission from the Corps to backfill the old sump from the pumps.
But just at some point, way off in the future, the SWIFT, everything's going to be completed and it's going to be on a regular inspection. I'm just, how do you clear an unacceptable?
You fix it.
Juan
Mr.
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez.
Yep, thank you. The Public Law 8499 rehabilitation program, to be active, all of those individual items, individual observations need to be at least minimally acceptable. Any unacceptable observations in those first 7 items will impact eligibility. The Corps' inspection process encourages board staff as well as LMA staff to participate throughout the process, all the way from scheduling inspections all the way to before we publish a final report. As recently as April, we gave board staff opportunity to comment on, and I think by extension, board staff provided DWR opportunity to comment on the report. We didn't get any comments on this. It would have been great to understand some ongoing repairs, fixes, we do take that stuff into account. We will incorporate fixes into the final report before we publish it, before it's approved. So there's a lot of great opportunity out in the field. Provide us more information than what we see on the ground. Are flap gates, typically closed? Are we out there at the wrong time? And you have an animal control program that we're just out there at the wrong time of the year, and it gets grouted in 2 months, for example. And so we do take that stuff into account. There's a lot of factors in. Again, Zubair talked about snapshot in time. We understand that we may not be out there at the right time. And I think speaking specifically to your question, after we've signed the report, after we published it, there's certainly opportunity always to update an inspection. What we would ask is that board staff request a reinspection for a system, and we would schedule that. And so we don't have to wait for the next cycle. We can get out there as needed.
That's basically, so the maintainer could notify our staff that they've addressed these unacceptable items. Our staff could take a look at it, and if it seems to address it, then they would ask you to come out and re-inspect it. Is that how it would work?
Yes, and depending on what it is, sometimes we will do a full reinspection if it's a lot of observations that we're discussing. If it's just some systems are smaller and they may have just 1 or 2 things, and it's easier just to deal with those individually.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just want to ask a question. How long is how long is it active? I mean, because I know that some of these encroachment issues, because there's third party involved, that it may take time, but is there a set deadline on these SWIFTs?
The SWIFT plan is outlined by the board, by the sponsor. And so you're essentially writing your own plan to identify how long it will take you to address the items.
So it could depend on how many issues you have. Is that correct?
Yes, and the complexity.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It lasts until you get your master's degree.
Board members. Anyone in the audience want to come forward with a question? Don't see anything. We have any hands up? No. Okay. We don't take action on this. We do receive for information. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the information. Mr. Dosu, nice job. We're thanking you. Okay. I want to take a little break here. My little breaks are 10 minutes. And so that you don't pick on me, I'm really going to try to keep to that. So we're going to take a 10-minute recess right now. I know we call at me to get going. You're all talking, so that's good. So we're back. We're now at board items. The first of which
And the only one under board items, please remember item B is it's basically been removed. No action is going to be asked. So item 9A is board's request to us to adopt a statement of necessary work for the formation of State Maintenance Area 20 in Yuba County. It's also called Horseshoe Levee Area. And Mike Salazzo, board staff, is brave enough and informed enough to give us our presentation. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Just doing a quick mic check that you can hear me okay. Okay. Good morning, President Dolan and members of the board. My name is Mike Salazzo. I am a senior engineer in the board's Flood System Improvement Branch. I am presenting staff's recommendation to adopt the Statement of Necessary Work for the Maintenance Area, or MA 20 formation, to include the Reclamation District, or RD 817 addendum within the Horseshoe Levee System in Yuba County. Adopting the Statement of Necessary Work does not create the maintenance area. Before continuing on with the presentation, I want to inform the board that staff provided the board members with a revised staff report via email earlier this week. The report reflects the changes made by the Department of Water Resources to its Statement of Necessary Work from the draft version included in the original report. The department's final version was provided to board staff on Monday, June 24th, and included a reduction of about $3,000 in first-year maintenance costs. No other changes were made. So I'd like to take this time to answer any questions on that revised staff report, if there are any.
I did receive it and I was trying to figure out where the changes were. So thank you for pointing it out. It was not very much. Anyone have questions on the revised report that we received Monday? Audience? Online? Okay, no, seems not. So proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Today's presentation will cover several items related to the requested action. First, I will show the proposed location of MA 20 in relation to the regional levee system, and then show the existing levee units to be included in the MA 20 formation. Next, I will provide a brief history specific to the inclusion of RD 817 into the request to form the maintenance area. Then I will provide staff findings on compliance with the water code specific to the Statement of Necessary Work. I'll present the next steps in the process, as well as the progress made in moving forward with forming the maintenance area. I will conclude the presentation with a summary of the public comments received specific to RD 817's request and the recommended action to adopt the Statement of Necessary Work. The regional levee system is shown in these two figures with the proposed location of MA 20 boxed in red in the bottom right. The left figure is a levee unit map for RD 784. It contains the portions of the Sacramento River Flood Control Project designated by the Department of Water Resources as units, with Unit 7 in the north near Marysville to the units of the Horseshoe System in the south. The RD 817 levee unit is shown just above the R, it's not shown, but it's right above the R in Bear River as part of the RD 817 system. You'll see that on the next slide. On the right is a boundary map of RD 784 that shows an area in blue within the Horseshoe System that is not within its boundaries and not subject to assessments. RD 784 has further indicated that none of the parcels are assessed and that levee maintenance is mainly through state funding. This map from Exhibit A of the Statement of Necessary Work shows the proposed MA 20 levee system with the RD 784 levee units shown in red and the RD 817 Unit 6 levee segment shown in yellow. The system is bordered to the north by Best Slough, to the west by the Western Pacific Interceptor Canal, to the south by Bear River and Dry Creek, and to the east by 40 Mile Road. When the board adopted the Statement of Necessary Work for RD 784, the map included the levee units in red. The request today adds RD 817 to the total cost estimate and to include all segments of the Horseshoe Levee system. RD 784 began the formation process in 2019, and in March of 2020, RD 817 requested to join the proceedings. Shown here is a portion of RD 817's request, stating that it would be prudent for the horseshoe levee system to be maintained by one entity. In September of 2022, the board adopted the statement of necessary work for the RD 784 portion of the horseshoe system without the RD 817 levee segment. The approved minutes from that meeting show that the action was unanimously adopted, that public comments were received and discussed, and that discussions on the maintenance area formation would continue. In the following month, RD 817 submitted a revised request to allow it to join the proceedings as advised at the meeting. In May of 2023, the department provided a revised statement of necessary work to include the RD 817 segment. In its letter, the department indicated that RD 817 would be included as an addendum to the RD 784 statement adopted by the board. RD 817 subsequently waived its right to protest. In October, the board voted to postpone hearing the request to adopt the revised statement to the first quarter of this year. Board members discussed public comments and the need for additional time to review the information and requested additional information on the background and available options. The postponement caused the department to revise the cost estimate so that an accurate accounting of the system could be made. The department provided an updated statement on June 24th, to which RD 817 again waived its right to protest, and that revised statement is what is being considered today. The department's statement of necessary work describes the proposed levee system, the background, the inspection history, as well as the budget and scope of work proposed to bring that system into compliance with federal standards. It also shows a table of those costs in Exhibit B, which are shown here. The first column lists the types of work to be performed, including major items such as encroachment removal and vegetation management, along with levee restoration and inspections. Columns labeled with the number 1 show the budget for the RD 784 system that was adopted by the board in 2022. Columns labeled with the number 2 show the additional cost to include the RD 817 units. Columns labeled with the number 3 show the sum of the costs for the units within the entire horseshoe system. The final 2 columns show the proposed budget shifted out to the upcoming fiscal years and what is the subject of today's board's decision. The budget shift is needed to comply with Section 12878.1 of the Water Code, so the board can adopt the cost estimate for the current fiscal year and the following year. The current fiscal year ends this month and no costs are expected, so the table is providing the cost for the ensuing 2 fiscal years in addition to the cost of $0 for this year. Staff analyzed the department's statement of necessary work for compliance with the sections of the Water Code specific to the board's responsibility. The process under Section 12878 leading up to the board's adoption of the statement of necessary work involves several steps. The process shown here includes those steps specific to the case in which the board is responding to a request by the local agency. The diagram shows activities of the local maintaining agency, or LMA, in orange boxes, or yellow, but those of the department in green ovals, and those of the board in blue hexagons. The process begins with the LMA submitting a resolution to the department declaring that it no longer desires to maintain the levee units, which RD 817 did in March 2020 and October 2022. The department then submits an estimate of the cost to prepare the statement of necessary work to the LMA, and the cost is subsequently paid. DWR submitted its cost estimate in December 2022, and all fees were paid. The department then prepares a statement of necessary work and submits it to the LMA and the board, which was done in May of 2023 and earlier this month. At this point, we crossed a line in the process where the LMA can choose to protest the statement and it has 45 days to do so. RD 817 waived its right to protest, and now the board is required to adopt the statement under section 12878.5. And again, adopting the statement of necessary work does not create the maintenance area. That process is discussed in the next slide. If the board adopts the statement of necessary work, there is a series of steps remaining in forming the maintenance area, all under the responsibility of the board. The board prepares a boundary description and map, and in doing so, conducts a benefits analysis to determine if the benefits of flood protection provided by the levee system are unequally shared, and if so, to what extent can zones of proportional benefit be delineated within the maintenance area. The results of the benefits analysis determine the allocation of costs adopted in the statement of necessary work after the board's decision. After the board's decision on RD 784, staff continued with the formation process as directed by the board and initiated modeling efforts to inform the benefits analysis and met with affected landowners to discuss alternative approaches. Upon completion of the boundary description and benefits analysis, the board conducts hearings to consider public comments and any additional information that would be helpful in establishing the maintenance area boundaries. These hearings allow the board to discuss the effects of both the benefits analysis and the cost allocation within the system. The discussion at these hearings could also result in alternative outcomes to formation of a maintenance area. These may include revisiting the steps to allow the LMA to legally assess properties to fund maintenance, steps to move forward with a locally established special district, or plan to create the maintenance area as an intermediate step and subsequently dissolve it. Upon the conclusion of these hearings, the board establishes the maintenance area boundaries. This will likely be accomplished by a staff report and consideration for approval at the board meeting discussed in the next step, which is for the board to adopt an order to create the maintenance area and file it with the Yuba County's Recorder's Office. This step would allow the board to review public comments received in the entire boundary determination process and any new information before making a decision. Once the maintenance area is formed, the Department of Water Resources is required to maintain it until it is dissolved. To dissolve an area, either RD 784 or 817 can petition the board, and the board would conduct a hearing on the request. The board has received public comments on the MA20 formation request at 3 board meetings between 2019 and 2023, and the public has attempted to resolve this issue at various local meetings during that time. Comments specific to the RD 817 piece were brought up at the September 2022 board meeting, in which RD 817 discussed its request to be added to the formation proceedings and stated it expected to be included at that time. However, RD 817 needed to revise its resolution of March 2020 so that it could join the process. It then provided a revised resolution the following month. Affected property owners submitted a letter to the board ahead of the October 2023 board meeting requesting additional engagement with staff. Staff subsequently held a meeting in March of 2024 to discuss alternative modeling approaches, and we requested additional information to help evaluate the results. An additional letter was received ahead of today's meeting commenting on the staff report and raising procedural issues. RD 784 submitted a letter to the board after the postponement at the October meeting. In its letter, RD 784 expressed frustration with the delays in the process, stating that there are potential impacts to funding and ongoing maintenance. To date, staff has not received public comments specific to the scope of work and the budget or the substance of the statement of necessary work prepared by the department in May of 2023, nor for the version prepared this month and currently in front of the board. That brings me to the concluding slide and staff's recommendation to adopt the June 2024 RD 817 Statement of Necessary Work as shown in Exhibit B2 of the Statement of Necessary Work and find that this action is not a project pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, and to direct staff to proceed with the maintenance area formation by developing the boundary map and description with the RD 817 levy unit added. I would like to thank Brian Murphy of DWR's Flood Maintenance and Operations Branch and his team for collaborating with me on this request and for providing timely and professional responses. I'm happy to take any questions, address any comments, and to open the floor up to DWR and RD 817 for additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zalazo. Do you know if anyone from DWR 817 wishes to speak? Or do I just ask?
I don't know if they wish to speak, but I think they're available for comments.
Okay. Okay. Well, don't move too far, okay? Oh, my board's first. Mr. Countryman.
Just one quick question. So
Mhm.
currently is RD 784 still maintaining the levees?
Yes, RD 784 is maintaining a part of the horseshoe levee system. RD 817 is maintaining its levee segment. But over the past 10 years, as DWR stated in its statement of necessary work, the system has received, I think, 7 unacceptable ratings on its inspection reports. And I think the most recent one, draft version, has another unacceptable rating. And without history, without some sort of mechanism in place for maintenance, doesn't seem like there's going to be much improvement.
Okay, but I just want, this is not, when we, if this was approved, that's not gonna all of a sudden do an assessment the way the maintenance area is.
No, the assessment doesn't start until the maintenance area is formed.
Yeah, thanks.
Member Grego.
Thank you for laying out that whole process. It was very clear and I appreciate that. The one question that I have is, if the board moves forward with the recommended action today, you will continue the discussion based on the process that you still have in front of us. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Thank you, Member Grego, and the other board members. This is a very challenging process. It's clear it doesn't happen very much. To be in our lab. Okay. Any other board members? Let's see, hand up. Do we have anyone from the Department of Water Resources Maintenance? FMO who wishes to speak, Flood Maintenance Office? I don't actually see anyone in the room. We have any hand up? Apparently not. What? Is it Ryan Murphy or Brian Murphy? Brian? Mr.
Hello,
Murphy?
can you hear me?
Is that you, Mr. Murphy?
Yes, it is.
All right, you're on.
Thank you, Michael. Very great presentation, laid out well. The department does not have any comments at this time, but we are here to answer any questions if they come up.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions? Mr. Murphy? I see none from my board. I see someone did that, but I don't think they mean to talk. No, apparently not. Okay. Is there anyone here from RD 784? What?
Excuse me, my apologies. I believe you meant RD 817.
Is there anyone here from RD 817? I will do it. Mr. Dua always corrects. I don't see anyone. Patrick Meager? I'm sitting next to the clerk who has a screen that is just too small for me to read it, so.
I think Patrick Marr has raised his hand.
What's your name?
Yes, this is Patrick Marr from RD 784. Can the board hear me?
Yes, sir.
I was just letting you know that I am present virtually here. I don't have any comments, but if you have any questions for me, I am here.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Marr? I don't see any nods or hands up, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here, even virtually. Okay. Well, then, I'll open it up to anybody in the audience who wants to make a comment. Oh, Mr. Manning. Brian Manning did submit a card that I neglected to see, but good morning still.
Good morning, President Dolan, members of the board. My name is Brian Manning, and from the Desmond firm. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Michael Rue, who's in attendance today. Can we bring up slide 4? Is that possible? So I'm not here to, oh, thank you. I'm not here to necessarily oppose the statement of necessary work. I'm here to give more of a preview of what's to come, like the trailer for the larger movie that comes after this. So the first thing I want to start with is to discuss the notion that there is a horseshoe levee system, as it's been referred to. That term doesn't exist. It's something that has been introduced as part of these proceedings. This levee that you can see on slide 4 is part of Unit 145 of the Sacramento River Flood Control Project. It is an integrated part of the project. The reason why I start with that is that's because that's the foundation of our discussions moving forward. These levees were part of RD 784 for over 100 years. When 784 was created in 1910, this levee system was part of that. There's a host of reasons why it was built. The main reason is that it intercepts water that flows up gradient from the east down to the west towards the Feather River. So you can see in the slide the Western Pacific Interceptor Canal. That is what catches the water from Reed's Creek, Hutchinson's Creek, Best Slough, and diverts it from Plumas Lake, where there literally was lake formations, and then sends it down that channel to the Bear River. That way, the homes that you see on the west side of the canal can be built. Those homes receive 200-year level of protection. So as we go forward, when we're looking at building or creating the boundary area, the question becomes, what does that map look like? What are those bounds? And so we have to determine who benefits from these levees being built. That's really the biggest issue. With what's been proposed so far and what happened back in the past, 784 and potentially this board, if it proceeds with a breach analysis, is trying to charge folks for protection when their property was never subject to historic flooding. The properties that I represent, Mr. Rue's properties, a vast majority of them were not subject to flooding from natural conditions. The reason why they're subject to flooding now is because of the Interceptor Canal. It intercepts all that water and keeps it up gradient as opposed to down gradient. So we've had a lot of discussion about this, and I want to thank the board and staff for taking the time to meet with us and your consideration. I know you're all busy, very busy people, and you've given us a lot of attention, so I appreciate that. But as we said at a meeting, I don't know, a couple of years ago, this really becomes a policy question. What is the hydraulic analysis that is going to be applied to the creation of the maintenance area? Is it going to be a breach analysis where you punch a hole in the horseshoe levee and every other levee maintains, and then you just fill up the bathtub? Or is it going to be a more holistic approach and analyze these conditions of what's historically happened prior to the creation of these levees? Who was subject to flooding, who was not, and how much, and to what degree do those that were subject to flooding, to what degree do they benefit from the horseshoe levee? And so I look forward to continuing our discussions with the staff and engineers and our collaboration, because I believe this is a solvable issue, and it really truly is a policy decision by this board. Are you going to analyze it as a holistic approach or punch a hole and fill up the bathtub? So I'm happy to answer any questions from the owner's perspective, but I look forward to our discussions going forward.
Mr. Rue is here, but you're speaking on his behalf,
Yes.
but noting that he's present.
Pardon?
Noting that he is
Oh, yes,
present. Okay,
yes.
thank you for that. Board members, questions of Mr. Manning? Does Keely have her hand up? Okay,
All right. Thank you.
apparently not. Mr. Dewar, is your hand up?
My hand is
Oh, I should have asked. How about staff?
Sorry. I just wanted to note that we did receive
Is your mic on?
It is on. I don't know if you can hear me. Maybe it needs to be a little closer. I just wanted to note for the record that the board did receive a letter from Mr. Nevis, attorney for another property owner, Stuart Hansen. He could not make it today. He's on vacation, but he did submit his letter and it's been provided to the board.
I believe that came by email yesterday,
That is correct.
or at least that's when I
Was-
was able to.
I can't confirm when the board clerk, I believe it was yesterday that it was provided to the board. but
Yesterday,
It was
yes,
received earlier this week
yeah.
from Mr. Nevis's office.
You need to be a speed reader to read the whole
Just a
thing.
point of clarification.
No.
Mr.
sir.
Nevis, we're working in collaboration. Mr. Nevis provided his letter, I think, on Monday, and then Mr. Hansen himself submitted a letter, I believe, yesterday. So there should be two letters that go into the record. I just want to make that clear.
Thank you for that, Brian. I don't have record of receiving anything from Stuart, so we'll look into that and make sure it gets included.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right,
Just
you have some summation remarks?
1 minute, President Dolan. Just
You
want
can
to
take whatever
remind
time
the
you want.
board
This is-
that while Mr. Manning brought up some excellent points about the
Okay.
performance of the levee system and how it might impact the hydraulics and benefits analysis, I just want to point out to where we are in the process. So right now, we are considering adopting the statement of necessary work, and that discussion about the benefits analysis and flood protection all happens afterwards. And there's a step right here where we determine the boundary description in the map, we have conversations, and then we have a hearing, or the board conducts hearings with public comments that can further discuss that situation. So want to make sure that that's coming down the line. There's opportunities to continue collaboration and have the board informed of what's going on.
Mr. Zalazzo, I'm looking at this here. I have it in paper that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 6 steps. And we're on number 2.
If we're ending the 6th step of the first part.
Oh, we're not even on this one yet.
Yeah.
All right. So there's more than these steps.
If the board adopts the statement of necessary work, we complete, for the most part, parts 1 through 5 of section 12.878. And so after this point, we begin the next parts after that.
Let me just be strange. If we were not to approve this, what's the result? Chaos? Mr. Countryman says, why would we not? So Mr. Dew is going to say something. I know this is very challenging. I just don't see any reason to stall anymore.
Thank you, President Dolan. Yes, again, I wouldn't say this this step is a formality, but it is a step in the process. And the RD 817, which has been provided a copy of the statement of necessary work, has not opposed it and is not protesting it, waiving any protest. They paid the fees for the work product to be completed by DWR. And so to the extent that the board were not to adopt the statement of necessary work, it would need some overriding rationale to do so, in my opinion. We have not heard any of that today, and it's not being opposed by the property owners behind the levee as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'm looking for the page of the report that is the action, the motion that staff wishes us to take. Staff recommendation is to find that the, any more comments? So I'm going to close this to board deliberation without objection. And I don't see that.
If I may, President Dolan, just
You may.
reiterate the staff's recommended action for today is for the board to adopt the statement of necessary work prepared by the Department of Water Resources that was submitted to the board in June of 2024. And then on this slide, you'll see the table of the proposed adjusted budget that's shown in Exhibit B2 of that statement. And also to find that adoption of the statement of necessary work is not a project pursuant to CEQA, and to direct staff to continue on developing the boundary map and description as part of the MA20 formation process.
Okay. Is that clear to the board that that's what the motion would entail? Is there another question?
No, not a question, but when you're ready for a motion.
I am ready for a motion.
Okay. Because of what's been presented to us today, and even Mr. Manning said that he looks forward to having more discussion with our staff, I'd like to go ahead and make the motion that we, for the recommended action that has been just stated, and I make that motion to support it.
All right, there's a motion to take the staff recommendations. Is there a second? Second by Member Countryman. Right. Last chance. You want to talk about this some more? We will the next time this comes up, I'm sure. Okay. Would you please call the roll?
Member Andrews?
Aye.
Member Bosler?
Was that Bosler? Sorry.
Yes.
Aye.
Member Griego?
Yes.
Member Countryman?
Yes.
Secretary Johnson?
Aye.
Vice President Valines?
Aye.
President Dolan?
Yes. All right. The motion approving staff recommendations on this matter has been adopted by unanimous vote. It doesn't end it though. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work on making this complex matter and continually understandable. All right. As I said before, but I'm going to say again, board item 9B is no action today because our staff very competently and persistently work with the landowner for compliance. So congratulations for that. So we're going to move on. Item 10 comprises Department of Water Resources matters, and the first one, 10A, is a written report of monthly activities passed on to us. Is there any DWR person that wanted to speak to that? Normally they let us read it and we bring forward questions. I don't see anyone. Board want to highlight anything on that? All right, I see none. Anyone in the audience? Our audience is shrinking. Sorry about that. Oh, Member Bosler? Did you want to make a comment on written report from DWR?
No, actually, my comments were attached to the motion we just took, and just really appreciate all of the hard work and continued dedication that DWR will have to the relationship in that region, and making sure that we can all see commonly the problem that we're trying to solve and the solutions that we're bringing to it. So, and our staff, I want to thank as well.
Thank you. Good to have that in the record. I think we all relate to that. I see some nodding heads here, so thank you for that. And we'll proceed to item 10B. This is information and a request for action regarding the Delta Levy Maintenance Subventions Programs. This is Sandra Maxwell from DWR Division of Multi Benefits Initiative. Happy to see you.
It's good to see
You
you.
come annually for this.
Yes, yes.
So, and you always give good information. So I'll turn it over to you.
Great,
Still
thank you.
morning.
Good morning, Board President and members of the board. My name is Sandy Maxwell, and I'm with the Delta Levy Subventions Program. And I'm here today to ask your approval on some of the work that the Subventions Program has been doing. We've been working to reimburse reclamation districts for fiscal year 22-23 reimbursements. We've amended our funding plan for fiscal year 23-24 to $14 million, and also asking your approval for the 24-25 $14 million funding plan. As you know, the Delta is one of the most critical and important geographic regions in the state. Most of Californians rely on something that comes from the Delta or something that passes through the Delta. The Delta is more than just a water resource or vibrant farmland or a crossroads of infrastructure. The Delta provides critical habitat to many species of plants, animals, birds, and fish. It is also a place where people live and where they recreate. Because most of the Delta is protected from flooding by the existing levee system, the integrity of this levee system is critical to California. And this is why the Subventions Program is so important. The Subventions Program invests annually in the levees, in maintaining the levees. And it is our goal to keep the levee system well maintained and provide safety for the Delta. We are currently funding fiscal year 23-24. The board approved $13.5 million. We received 71 final claims, which is the work that they've done during the fiscal year. There were $18 million of requested funding. The Subventions Program is providing about $3.1 million, and that means the reclamation districts will be putting in $5 million for the maintenance of their levees. So the state's putting in and the reclamation district is putting in. Fiscal year 23-24 is the one we're wrapping up now. The board has approved $13 million. We're asking for an additional $1 million to make the funding for fiscal year 23-24 be $14 million. These claims are due in November of 2024. And as you can see on this chart, this is the maintenance activities. They've been going up between $1 and $2 million a year. And we're not sure the $13 million will cover all the maintenance expenses and work done during 23-24. That's why we're asking for the additional $1 million. So it'll give us 14 for 23-24.
Question.
Okay.
If those funds aren't sufficient, what happens?
So there's two things. One is we go to our management and see if there's some funds that they could pull towards us, give to our program. Or in the staff report, there's a priority of funding, and we start funding everything. So some of the reclamation districts will not get the 75% in the kind of the lower end. So, and the reclamation districts know that. So they're aware of and if they're taking on a big project, they're aware.
That was a question from Member Countryman and then answered by Ms. Maxwell.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then we're asking for $14 million also for 24-25, and we received 73 applications. And these, the work will be done beginning July 1 for the fiscal year, and those final claims won't be in until the 2025. So we have a couple years. If there isn't enough funding, hopefully there's some additional funding as the years go by. Oops, ooh, yikes. Um, uh, Investing in the Delta is critical to California, and the subventions program has invested annually a total, well, not a total, but it invests annually in the Delta. And we've, over the 50 years that we've been helping out the Delta and the levees, we've contributed $270 million. And this is important to ensuring the integrity of the levee system and protecting California's water supply. So according to the water code, and because millions of Californians rely on the water that passes through the Delta, we're asking, the subvention staff is asking you approve the 22-23 estimated reimbursements, the 23-24 amended $14 million funding plan, and the 24-25 $14 million funding plan. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you for that. That slide has 4 notes.
Oh,
What we
and
have in
then
our staff is only 3. Was-
Preparation of the 24-25 work agreements.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So are there any questions?
Board member questions? Raise our hand up.
I
Oh,
don't
member
have a
Countryman.
question, but I
Yes,
do have
sir.
a comment that I make every year, that this is one of the best government-run programs. It's got more local money brought in and improved the Delta immensely in the last 20 years. So, yeah, I heartily support the subventions program.
Did I stun you?
What's your name? Mr. Blind.
Thank you. I just want to say, Sandy, thanks for the presentation. For several years now, you've pulled us all into a room together, meeting everybody that is involved, not just folks in here. It's always a great report. The work you do is important. So I just want to say, you and your team, thank you. And the collaboration is great. Like Joe said, it's one of the, not one of the few, but it's definitely a success story. So we appreciate all of your work and focus on it.
Great, thank you. We work hard.
We actually have a hand up online. Tessa Marlowe. Tessa,
Hi.
you there? Oh, good morning.
Good morning. So my name's Tess Marlowe. I'm with KSN. Unfortunately, Chris Nudek couldn't be here with us today. And I just wanted to speak up and support Sandy Maxwell and the subventions program. We have so many reclamation districts that we represent, and the subventions program has just been so hugely beneficial. It is truly absolutely critical for our districts to be able to participate in this program to complete the levee maintenance that's required to ensure levee stability and safety. So thank you, Sandy, and thank you to the board.
Thank you for your comments. We haven't voted yet, so thinking as far as support would have to come after that. I think we all agree with you, Mr. Countryman. Okay, we're ready for vote. Please call the roll. Thought you made that motion. Mr. Countryman? Thank you.
Recommend the
Member Countryman has a motion to adopt the recommendation. I'll second that. Second by Member Grego. I was really hoping I could go a whole meeting without a mistake, so there you go. That's just for your entertainment only. All right, please call the roll.
Member Andrews? Aye. Member Bosler?
Aye.
Member Griego?
Yes.
Member Countryman?
yes.
Secretary Johnson? Aye. Vice President Valines? Aye. President Dolan?
Yes. The action is adopted. That is a unanimous vote of our full board. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, everyone. See you next year.
I want this photo you took. It's beautiful. Okay, that takes care of all the actions that are before us. So we have received staff activity reports. That's item 11. Are you writing me a note? Your handwriting is actually worse than mine. I'm shocked. Okay, well, written reports and board members can ask questions, make comments, and of course, the staff can highlight any that they wish in the report. So we have the executive staff and the administrative division. We have the operations branch. And I think Mr. Wright knows I always like some comments for the record about how the broadband's going. I read it. I want to hear you say it because I know that you're working very hard.
Okay, thank you. Michael Wright, Chief Engineer for quick update on the governor's broadband initiative and the work that board staff has been doing. So far, we've received 33 applications. 10 of those have been approved and the permits have been issued. 6 of them were issued last month. We have 6 draft permits being posted on our executive officer delegation approval. Those should be ready to go this month for approval. 3 of the applications do require the core section 408 review and permission. And then we have an additional 9 of the 33 that are actually for unpermitted bridges to which the broadband cables will attach. So some of the crossings that they found to use bridges as the crossing, the bridges are not actually permitted, which adds another small step to the process, but we're working through that as well.
You call it that small. At least we'll know what the bridges are and they'll be in the permit system. That's good. So it's moving along. This is good news. Your hand is up again.
Yeah, sorry, one more thing. We plan to have a more in-depth presentation next month.
With photos. You're going to bring photos.
Hopefully we'll have some photos.
I will have to put the parking lot photo up again. Any other comments on that one operations? Thank you for that. Flood system improvement branch. Environmental services and land management. Flood planning and programs. We got a smiling person there. Chair. Are you writing me another note? No? Okay. Thank you for all the reports there.
I would
Mr.
like to
Countryman, yes?
thank the staff for the reports. I did review them pretty carefully and I thought they were well done and understandable. I appreciate their efforts.
We also appreciate when you, with your knowledge and your history, when you send emails asking for clarification, we get that. So that's good. Okay. So we're at the point of board comments of activities. Anybody done anything recently? Ms. Bosler, do you want to talk about your proposal and yours and my visits?
You're putting me on the spot. No, I think we just continue, along the lines of what we've talked at multiple times, just really like helping people understand the importance of our regional flood management planning areas and the really critical role that they're playing to set the table with the right people in the jurisdictions that can really think much more broadly about how to bring multi-benefit solutions to their regions. And I just think it's something, having sat in Sacramento for all of my career, that people don't necessarily have that nuanced understanding of the complexity of political jurisdictions locally and how having this neutral table can really be a value add to accelerating the project envisioning and development, and also building more synergies between flood and other program areas like water supply. And that's really important and critical. We have limited resources as seen in the budget process this year, but always I'm very grounded with the fact that budgets are always a constraint of allocating a scarce resource. And so really thinking about how we can build partnerships outside of our traditional way in which we've worked, I think is really something that these planning areas have helped to lift up and get us all working together and understanding the problem in a common way. And there's just a lot of value to them, and I want to see them continued and be really building and building on the work that they've done already. So we've spent some time, Jane and I, just really trying to get through and help people understand this nuance. So it's not just another line item on a spreadsheet next year when we're going through this process, the budget process next year. I don't know if there's anything else. I also just great visit to the two different large DWR projects, one that is almost done and one that's in the planning phases still in the South Delta. And lots of things that we're learning about how some of the processes that allowed the state to move more quickly to do restoration and flood projects may actually not be going to be allowed anymore without further statute changes. So there's a lot to learn there. Because I think there's been some real accelerations that have allowed us to use a service contract type contracting process to move more quickly on a few projects in recent years. And I think that's something that we should continue to look at. I think that it meets a lot of different priorities for the state in terms of performance contracting that are really good. Again, scarce resources. We need to think about how we can use the resources we have very wisely. And so I see a lot of value in this performance contracting that they were using, but that may need some additional statute changes to support going forward within all of the complex state contracting processes that we have.
Well, thank you. I love putting you on the spot because you do so well.
Thanks, Jane. No, the
No, you
tour
do.
was really great. And I just really appreciate all the staff that put that together. Getting out into the field, having side conversations with colleagues in government, outside of government, are just really, really valuable and grounding me in ways that I can help support the work of this community because we know we need to go faster than we've gone in the last 30 years in order to keep up with the pace of change to protect the communities in the Central Valley from the impacts of climate change. And there's a lot of deferred maintenance out there. We haven't had enough investment, and that's something that I really hope. I know Mr. Valines mentioned the bond. Definitely am hoping the administration is able to get their stamp on that bond and get the necessary funding to help support funding the flood plan. These are a different level of responsibility that the state has in the Central Valley because of what was developed here. And it's just really important that the state have its contribution to bring to match with the locals and the federal government, of course. But having additional money at the state level is critical to continue to meet our goals in the plan.
Otherwise, it's just a good plan, but no implementation. So thank you for that. Any other board comments? Been around? Member Grego.
I just want to echo Kylie and Kat, what she said about the workshop. I see such value in going out on location. It sets really well with me when there are issues come up and remembering what they're doing out there. The only thing I didn't appreciate was that damn snake coming after me. That was the scariest thing I've had all month, but I also want
Your reaction was highly entertaining.
I think I knocked over a few people trying to get out of the way.
No, I think she jumped 3 feet in the air.
But I also want to say
Spittle.
that I won't be in attendance next month for the meeting. I'll be celebrating my birthday. Yes.
You have birthday, son.
Yes, once a year.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. It's okay. We're gonna miss you. All right. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. It was so it was, you know, the snake was about the size of this pencil.
It looked bigger.
It did to her, but it happened so fast, no one could get their cameras out. And I'm sure you're happy for that, because otherwise I would have put it up on the screen. Yeah, so, but everyone came to your rescue. Okay. Upcoming meetings, Tuesday, July 23rd, is coordinating committee. Just reminding everyone, the meetings are on Tuesdays and they're quarterly. They're not. What was that? Bi-monthly, which means every other month? Okay, got that one right. I always get that one wrong. So it used to be every month on Wednesday, so forget that. Every other Tuesday. So it's 23rd. Our next board meeting is Friday, July 26th. It's almost July. This year is like that. A board workshop on August 9th, and our next business board meeting is Friday, August 23rd. No closed session. So without any comment or objection, meeting is adjourned.